On in, NQ. Let the good people see you, bro. There's my
Hi,
guy.
brother.
What's up, baby?
How you doing, man?
I'm so good. Let me make sure that you're seen.
All right, let me turn this up.
Make sure that the fans and the culture and the world see you. Aha. We should start out with a big ass incredible for like Jabon and Shion. Incredible.
Huge, incredible.
Like a huge.
You know, they just posted something yesterday of a picture of all four of us
Did they
rocking
really?
on a stage.
Oh wow.
And we looked so young, man. It was like stepping into a time machine.
We look mega young, right?
Yeah.
Life, man, journey. The grays came in. The pain came in.
You know, the never ending now, right?
The never ending now.
I saw that video that you posted the other day, and it was you on a beach, and you were talking about time and how people told you that time moved fast and that you needed to slow it down, and you tried to be conscious of that, and yet you wish there was a way to rewind, to be even more present and to slow it down even more. And I could relate to that.
You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting because first of all, welcome everybody to the first ever poetry cipher, Omari Picasso Speak Easy. We want you all to know why we came up with each part of that title. So we'll tell you. NQ and I, we met the better parts of 25 years ago, which is crazy to be able to say, going on 25 years. And I told him when I met him, I said, yo, we're going to be tight.
You literally walked up to me and you said, we're going to be friends.
As corny as that shit was. But
and you had a big chain, you know, looking like Trench. There it is.
It's different. This one's different. Shout outs to Ruby, who was our head of props department at Power. Ruby, she gifted me with this. So
yeah, that's nice.
The Power.
But you were also bigger too because you had just gotten out of training.
I did. I just got out of training. You might have been bigger too, Q. You know, them shoulders had some girth to it coming up in them mean streets of Santa Monica, yo. Say that word. So when Q and I, his name is Adam Schmalholtz, for folks that don't know, but he is one of the most prolific poets, wordsmiths of our generation, no doubt. He's been a highly ranked poet for years from the moment that he stepped into the battle scene. He was a battle MC, grew up in Santa Monica, California, very much on the precipice of the gang warfare that happened in Venice, which was blocks away from Q. It still rocks and rolls out in that area, but you know, things have changed. Gentrification, shout outs to that, even though that comes with its negativities as well. But Q grew up in that. I get cut from the league. I try my hat at and my feet at the stage of New York, small stage respectively, big stages if I could get in, just try my hand at that of being an actor. But I come from football, just got released, and then from New York, came to LA, and Q was one of those first people that I met in the poetry scene. Literally, as soon as I got back from a run of a play called Beauty Shop off Broadway, 74th and Broadway, to Beacon Theater. And New York was no stranger to Q. I always felt like he came off like he was from New York. His mother is actually native to New York. And so I just felt his vibe. Me being from Atlanta, obviously growing up in a very laid-back environment, but equally, you know, kind of knowing who you were. And Atlanta imbued me with a level of confidence that when I saw Q, I felt like this cat could be one of the greatest at what he was doing of all time. And at the time, it was rapping. And I always say this, and there's no slights to the incredibly gifted Marshall Mathers, but I always say that Q could have been that face that did not necessarily look like my face or those who are viewing who look like me, who really made a splash in this hip hop culture that was known as something that belonged to the brown or black culture. And Q, you know, internally was just as brown as they come, and I love him to death. And so again, 25 years and counting. This is an unprecedented takeoff of a poetry lounge / Cypher. We know you guys watching are dealing with quarantine. at a high level, and you're probably feeling handcuffed. We're going on 2 months at this point. So you got so many people, celebrity or non, that are doing these things to try to keep people or keep people's walls from closing in. And so Q, myself, Poetics, shout outs to Alex Nagel, Elliot O'Day, Des Stewart, and the great Demont Kinder, who's a painter and artist who works with me in a collaborative joint venture of Omari Picasso. And we decided there was no better guest to kick off this Speak Easy, Omari Picasso Speak Easy. That part of the title came from Q, who used to come up to me and go, "Speak easy, son." And I used to be like, "All right, I will. Let me go back. Let me start again." He'd be like, "Speak easy, son." So this is sort of a speakeasy. I'm in my office in an undisclosed spot somewhere near the Red Rocks, the mountains.
Undisclosed.
You know what I mean? And Q was just here, like right before the Corona thing.
Yeah.
Really found its strength, and this virus started becoming as devilish as it became. But Q is in his place of life and love and learned aptitude and journey, and that's in an undisclosed spot in California. I just called you out. So he's in Cali. If you need to find him, y'all shout out afterwards or during, and you can find him. So
we've come a long way though to be here right now.
So humble, man. So honored. Like I remember the first time I booked my first gig, which was the day that I said no to the fire department.
Right.
The same day Spike Lee, 3 hours later, gave me my first gig. And I never forget you saying, "Oh, I want you to write a piece about how it feels for the dreams that you dreamt to become, to become of finality, to become to actually exist now in a space where, you know, you're putting food or at least a little bit of food on the table, doing such." And I never forget that. And I found that poem. I found it.
You have it?
Cleaning out the garage. And, you know, I had to piecemeal it together because we didn't have no phones back then. So we used to pull up on the side in the car, you and your Honda Civic, me and whatever car I could find. I think it was a Daewoo at the time that was sold to me by the incredible friend that I met in an ABC acting showcase named Gwen McGee. She and her husband sold me a car for $1. I was like, she was like, "Free." And I said, "No, I'm not taking your car for free." She's like, "All right, I'll sell it for $1." But
you were actually, when you told me that story, I remember thinking, O is the only person that I have ever met in my entire life who could have bought a good car.
It was solid.
For $1.
It was $1 though.
Because they supported you, because they believed in you. And people always supported you because they loved you and because they believed in you. You know, so it's nice to see the dreams come into reality.
Yeah. And of course, it's even nicer when you look to your right, never behind, never go backwards, but when you look to your right and there's your ace, your original Dundada, your comrade of all, your artistic partner, big A, big R, big T, small p, small n, small er, partner in crime and in rhyme, becoming what you've become. And of course, now your dreams are a finality too. And I can't keep up with you, dog. You be traveling all over the place. I'm like, yo, I'm on set at Power for the last 6.5 years, 18 hours. And I really couldn't get with you. I was in one location.
We were doing probably, we were doing like 70 shows a year before the quarantine hit. So, you know, we'll see how long this lasts and how it changes. I mean, one thing that's true is no one ever changes unless their environment changes. Because if your environment was perfect, you would have no reason to shift.
That's right.
And so everyone is being forced to adapt in one way or another. And I know there's a lot of pain and suffering out there. So, you know, whoever's listening to this, wherever you are, just know that, you know, we're sending you a lot of love and strength through these uncertain times.
Absolutely. I keep saying the essential workers are not only essential, but life is essential. Mm-hmm. So anybody who has it presently, even the souls that have passed on, I keep telling Brave and Nova, souls don't die. Mm. So the word essential has become so operative. You know, you think about God gifting you and I with, and those of us who are also poets, from 14-year-old poets to 84-year-old poets who might be watching this right now, there is a gift. And I used to tell Q, I was pretty good in a 40-yard dash. I can play basketball pretty well, which Q can too. I was a pretty strong baseball player, maybe better in baseball than football. You know, there's another huddle of of gifts that I've been given that, you know, geared more towards being artistic, not just sports or not that art. I mean, you look at The Last Dance, you and I've been going crazy over it. You can't call Michael Jordan a non-artist. He's an artist. So,
100%.
So sports, you know, definitely should be always maintained in the conversation of that which is art. But Q, I tell people this, and I've told you for years, I've never not gotten on my knees, and first and foremost, thank God in this order, for his presence in my life, for my family, for my friends, for the family I've created, the friends included that are within that familial space that I can't call family. I mean, I can't call friends, excuse me. I actually got to call people family like yourself. And then second, and after that, you know, those are the primary thanks or gratitude pieces that I give God. But after that, I always thank God for my ability to write and communicate. And I used to tell Courtney and 50 the same thing, like to be able to communicate, especially with a pen, is just doggone incredible.
It's an unbelievable outlet. And that's why most artists will say that their art saved their life. And they meant that because they found empowerment, power. They found empowerment in their expression and in the ability to use their voice. And I think a lot of people who are out there in the world, they want to use their voice, but they don't necessarily feel like they either have the opportunity or that they're good enough. And I say, fuck all that, because using your voice is the thing. It's not about the actual product. It's about the process of expressing yourself and getting it out of your system and using it as an outlet.
Talk about that process a bit, Q. You know, I think about the fact that even in terms of you and I coming to the lounge when we did, and Sheehan Van Cleef, Ronald Van Cleef, but Sheehan Van Cleef, if he's listening or if the world's listening, obviously LA viewers know that he is the consummate host of the Poetry Lounge.
One of the best in the game.
The home for me, Q, Poetry, Devin Smith, aka Poetry, Jamel Hooper, Sekou, Azakwe, so many incredible artists, Justine, you know, Ashley, just go back, so many, Tiffany, I could just go on. But talk about the process a little bit in terms of what it felt like, inclusive within the space that you were in when I met you, which was the better parts of you being 19 years old, going on 20, including in that your insecurities and your securities, the things that you felt, you know, really gave you a sort of edge on people that you were around that were either your age or in your peer group. And again, the insecurities that made you wonder about how good you were or how good you were not. Talk about how that process has looked from 19 years of age when I met you to the place that you now live. We obviously won't disclose your age, but you got a little bit more wisdom than that kid at 19 that I met back then.
I'm 41. And, you know, thinking about who I was when I showed up at the lounge, I've lived so many lives in between, you know, the 19 and the 41. And, you know, interestingly enough, I randomly showed up at the lounge on a Tuesday night because a friend of mine gave me a flyer and was like, come to this open mic. And it's weird that things that can absolutely change your life can happen on a random Tuesday. Because I wasn't even a poet at that point. And getting around the community that became, as you said, a family to me. I mean, we were and are forever brothers, man. And we have a whole crew of people. And it was the artistic college that I never went to. And
shout out to San Francisco State.
Yeah, exactly. For 1 year, came back to SMC, got in a fist fight, and quit. That was my timeline. But anyway, so thinking about being in that environment, some of my best artistic experiences ever were watching you guys on stage. It was watching other poets rip. And I don't think anyone can teach you how to use your voice in art. They can teach you techniques, but they can't teach you your voice, because your voice comes from using it. And it comes from being around other people that are using it. And so that was what the lounge afforded me. It afforded me an opportunity to use my voice and to be around other people that inspired me to dig deeper and to go farther. Mm. What about you? Because I would say for you, you were probably, and to this day, the most prolific out of all of us in terms of the amount of content that you were able to come up with that was still world-class and represented your truth. So what's your writing process and what was your experience?
I guess the foundation of it, I would have to tease you, Q, and tease myself and teasing you and telling the world that Q used to say that I had a memory of an elephant. And I look at that and I remember Naturi on set and Leela Lauren, Joseph Shakur, definitely this most recent biggest job of mine, and that being Power. But I can't discredit the other movies that I was doing. But I definitely was called out several times on different sets, respectively, Q, for having that photographic memory.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of grab a script and kind of rock out. And so I think when you have that sort of memory, you're a little batshit, you know what I mean? And
yeah, of course. You actually don't have the space for other shit.
Yeah.
Because so much of your bandwidth is used for memorization. It's actually kind of a trip in a weird way.
So I think, Q, my process was always, you know, again, in cleaning out the garage yesterday, I found so many loose leaf scraps of paper that I should paste one piece to another piece, that part of it was on a McDonald's napkin, then part was on the last piece of loose leaf I had from a copybook or what have you, or, you know, a dirty ass napkin that was in the car that at a point I was kind of platooning in terms of making that my habitat. And you were allowing me to live on a couch that was my couch that I put back in your apartment that you let me live on. Like,
but then you returned the favor because I lived at your place for a while too, when you were on set, when I had nowhere else to go.
Exactly. So you know, it's always been a reciprocity to you and I. Shout outs to an incredible poet, and that being Lauryn Hill, who always talks about reciprocity. But I think in terms of that process, Q, I do feel like the space in my brain can be so cluttered because there's so many things that are constantly coming in it,
right?
That I do write so much. So in terms of, you know, you think about Nipsey, a great street poet, right? And you think about the tattoo prolific on the high ass cheekbones of half African and half American Nipsey, and I think about that word, and I think about what drew or what motivated Nipsey to actually putting prolific on his face in terms of it being tatted on, and then you're somebody that constantly says that. You go, oh, you're so prolific, and I always feel it's a little pretentious. Like, Q, I'm not more gifted than you. Shout outs to Adric, who obviously you know Q, for you world. Adric is a wide receiving teammate and roommate of mine from college, who is now a physical therapist. But he used to say to me, he went crazy when he found out Q and I were going to be doing this together, and he used to say to me, you and Q might be the two most gifted artists of our age group that I've ever met. And so when I hear the word prolific, I think, well, I don't know, man, kindergartners be teaching me stuff. So, but I do understand what you mean, Q, as an actor, I've been taught that I've learned, I should say, that I have a really good ear. And, you know, I never tried to go against wherever somebody's mood or spirit was in the day that they were there on set. And so I do poetry the same way. What I mean by that is, if Rotimi or Naturi came to set and they were in a particular space, for me, Q, particularly with Ghost not having to be a part of a comedy ensemble, I always thought, well, let them be where they're at. Don't push against where they're at. Let them be where they are. So I think as it pertains to writing in the pen, I also didn't try to force my hand, you know, literally or figuratively.
Right.
I didn't try to force my hand. So my process has always been, Q, I feel like saying this right now. And to our generation, bro, we never thought of that as corny. But it's so ironic that we got younger folks as youngster CPT from South Africa coins it, the Y generation, because they ask so many Ys. It's funny, though, they never ask themselves, many of them. I shouldn't say, obviously, all of them. And I shouldn't even say many of them, but some of them never ask themselves, why are they deeming certain levels or forms of expression corny? You know what I mean? I got people that squeeze into that, which is the huddle of those that follow me, and they might go, that's corny. I'm like, yo, we used that word and it made sense when we used it. You know what I mean? So my process was never that of judgment when I would write something. It was like, whatever I feel, I feel. And so I carried that in acting similarly. Like, if Naturi, you know, is in a relationship romantically, or Leela was going through something and they came to work with that, like, don't push that out of them, because perhaps there's brilliance in wherever they are in that moment, even when the camera goes action. So I think
yeah, it's like you can't strategize inspiration.
Right.
You know, you can't look outside of you and think, well, what would be popular right now? Let me focus my writing on that. Because I think strategizing inspiration is one step away from manipulation.
Yeah.
No, it's actually, it's manipulation, because you're manipulating your audience. And if you're manipulating your audience, you're manipulating yourself first. I think trying to find inspiration is like trying to find a shooting star.
Yeah, right.
You're never going to see it. You know, what you have to do is you just have to be in the present moment and look up. And then when you see it, you know, you have to take that and you have to create with it. Otherwise, it just gets returned to the universe.
And in terms of the universe, Q, to interject, I think what you and I both shared, and I throw Shion definitely in this category, Sekou as well, we were writers of volume. A Q can go, I feel like O has so much content more than others, and there are fans that are watching you and I right now and knowing that that we're on the brink of Omari releasing music.
Right.
But ironically, whether they embrace that or not, and World, let me tell you, one of the greatest musical artists I know I'm talking to, and that being Adam and Q Schmalholtz. But whether they're embracing of that, what they are embracing of, and I've realized this, Q, is me as a poet. Whatever that is, whether it's my raspy voice, whether it's my heavy ass brow, people say, "Oh, he looks like Ghost." I'm like, I can't get rid of my head. This is not Ghost. This is my head. So whatever it is that have made people draw to you, and I feel like it's similar to drawing to me. You said it best. It's for the universe, bro. God didn't put this in us for it to be that of not only, you know, jack off material, but not to be selfishly and in a greedy way equal to ourselves. And so in terms of that prolific nature of volume of work being put out, Q, a lot of it is like, yo, I don't know when I'm off this earth, bro.
Right.
As you know, you were with me when my big brother, you know, was taken off this earth at 45. You got to hang with him. A lot of people hear about Kenny, but Q, you got to hang with him in ATL when, you know, you had a momentary heartbreak and my parents wrapped their arms around you, and I equaled the favor. And so it's interesting when you say prolific. It's like some of us, man, we're just always creating art to the backdrop of not just a trap beat or an R&B tune, but to a clock going tick tock.
Right.
We didn't really know how much time we had on this earth, particularly.
Yeah, well, time is the beat. Time is the ultimate beat, you know, and it never stops going. So if you can hit the rhythm of time, then you're talking to God right there, you know.
You in the pocket. Talk about the book, Q. I want the world to hear the title from your mouth, not mine. I want them to know what you put in this book, all the blood, sweat, and tears that came to it. You're the first out of our group that has a book of this nature, a level of to me, it's going to be on that bestsellers list. And you're the first. You really are running a race that I'm trying to catch up to. And I know how many fans, and I'm acknowledging you fans right now who go, oh, where's the book? Like my boy Q, he has it. Like he did it. He did it. Let me, so proud of you.
Yeah, I'll give you the quick breakdown, but I don't accept that you're catching up. We're all, that's the great thing about what you said, which is that when you hang with people that inspire you, you're always motivating each other to move farther. And you motivate me on a regular basis. As your friend, by the way, before any of the success happened. That's why we surrounded ourselves around the crew that we had, because we always pushed each other to be better versions of ourselves. So this is the Inquire Within book that I just came out with. And if you see, you know, the branches mirror the roots. So when you turn it upside down, the roots become the branches and the branches become the roots. But when you turn it to the side, it's lungs, man.
Word.
So the two halves of the book.
Now, you didn't tell me that, but were you hoping that I figured that out, or were you quizzing me?
No. I don't even really talk to people about it unless I have the book in front of me. But but the
Yeah, but
two halves of the book
how deep
are,
in terms of that we're at COVID-19 and
I
the
know.
body part or the organ most affected is that of the lungs. How deep is that?
I know it's kind of a trip, man. So the two halves are inhale and exhale.
Got it.
And it's, you know, it's the only thing that we do from the beginning of our lives to the end of it is we breathe. And so inhale in this book is the personal poems about growing up without my father and alchemizing my pain and, you know, learning how to step into my empowerment and step into hope and step into infinite possibilities. And then exhale is the social and political stuff. So ultimately it's change yourself, change the world. And that's the overall concept of Inquire Within. And it's been unbelievable, the responses that we've gotten, man. Like, really, truly
in the midst of this
humbling.
pandemic. In the midst of the pandemic, right? Still been getting crazy responses.
Yeah, and it was crazy, bro. We had, like, literally, like, we had a billboard, you know, we had, you know, a mural. We had shows in LA and New York and San Fran and Denver and all over the place. And of course, overnight, it all went away. But every single person, no matter who you are or where you are, is dealing with a unique set of challenges because of how the world got turned upside down overnight. And it's just, you know, I feel grateful that the book is in the world and that people have been responding to it the way that they have. And I hope that it brings people some peace and inspiration during these uncertain times.
Do you remember, well, this is a deep cue. Those of you at home, you know, when you sort of open a book, you crack open a book and maybe some of you close your eyes and you just sort of dive in and see where the spirits lead your hand to go in terms of the page of that book. I went to Father Time.
Oh, wow.
Of course, Q just brought up time and my father included, Adric, that roommate, college roommate and wide receiving teammate that I spoke about, and Q. Fans, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, they all three, my father, Adric, and Q, on separate occasions have requested me to write a poem about time.
Yeah.
And here is Q with the poem about Father Time. Can you give us some of that, Q? From
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let me plug my phone in so that it doesn't break out halfway through. All right. So this is a piece called Father Time, and it's from Inquire Within. I'm staring at the number, wondering if I should call. I can hear the tick-tock from the clock on the wall as it meshes with the thump-thump beat of my heart. Sometimes getting something started is the hardest part. I didn't meet my dad until I was 15. I'd seen his photograph, but his image was sickening. A coward with a dick, but no balls to back it up. See, when he left me as a kid, I had cause for acting up. The funny thing about hate is the person you hate doesn't feel that hate. You feel that hate. But wait, the weight can be too much for a person to take, and personally, I was hurt, so I just locked it away. I was angry all the time, and I didn't know why. I couldn't handle my rage, so I would hide it inside, pretending everything was fine became a daily pastime. Time passed, and I started to believe in my own lies. I took it out on my mom because she raised me alone. The rage I couldn't own had left me totally numb. It was like landmines in my mind that I didn't understand. So when the boy inside cried, the young man outside yelled. I think I learned about my masculinity from TV. The people weren't real, so I knew they couldn't leave me. I would sit there for hours right in front of the tube. The images that I saw were my depiction of truth. It was manhood in a box, and I bought into it. The censorship of anything inside of me that's sensitive. The sentence is a lifetime of tears suppressed in a stone face, an overblown ego they've distracted through a paper chase. Back when I was 9, I imagined in my mind that my father was a spy working for the FBI, and that's why he couldn't stop by, write or drop a line. He was off saving our lives from the bad guys. But that was just a lie that I used to get by so that you wouldn't see the tears welling up in my eyes. When you're rejected by the person that you're created by, you secretly feel like you don't have a right to your life. I thought if I confronted him, then it would make it all right. But since I couldn't forgive him, it just recycled my spite. I remember meeting him for the first time. Every time a person passed by, I would ask, "Mom, is that him? I look a little like him, right? No? Oh. What about that guy?" And that was what it was like to meet the man that gave me my life. To shake his hand and look into his eyes. We talked till he apologized, then said our goodbyes. I walked away on my own, and I began to cry. Now, for years after that, I acted like it was all resolved. I had told him what I thought, so I figured problem solved, but it just re-evolved. My insecurities were eating at my mental health. I took it out on the world because I hated myself. That's when I finally decided I needed some help. I opened up. I started writing and sharing about my past. I got honest with myself and I started chipping at my mask. I looked into the mirror and I confronted what I saw, accepting the reflection by embracing every flaw, then directing the connection into breaking down the walls by reflecting the perfection of the God inside us all. I stopped focusing on everything that I had been hateful for. And I started focusing on everything I could be grateful for. And personally, there is a lot that we can be thankful for. If pain is dragging you down, just cut the ankle cord. That's when the weight lifted. And I really started living. It's when my hate shifted and I really started giving. It's when my fate twisted. It was like an ego exorcism. Your mind state can be the most powerful of prisons. My father never played catch with me or gave advice, but if nothing else, that man gave me my life. And that's enough for me. If that is all he can ever give, because I'm appreciative for every day I get to live. And even though I don't need my dad to validate me, I thought that I should write this poem to thank him for creating me. Because every moment that we are alive is like a gift. And if that's not enough to forgive, then what is? I'm staring at the number, wondering if I should call. I can hear the tick-tock from the clock on the wall as it meshes with the thump-thump beat of my heart. Sometimes getting something started is the hardest part. I pick the phone up. The dial tone begins to sing. Punch his number into it and it begins to ring. Ring. Hello, Mike? Hey, man, it's Adam. Your son.
It's crazy.
Thanks, man.
Salute, bro.
Thank you, bro.
It's crazy because I had at one point, Q, before you started, I looked down enough to see somebody saying, I wish Omari would shout out the fans. To those comments being made, we're completely shouting out the fans, even in having this. Isn't that correct, Q? Even in
it's trying to be of service and support and to share art and to share conversation in a time that has a lot of pain and suffering. So we hope that that's what people take from this, is a little bit more peace and a little bit more introspection and a little bit more love.
In terms of reception, bro, I see beautiful. I see incredible, very talented. I needed this. I see blessings. I mean, fans, we always see you. I always feel you. What's up, Omari? Yes, yes, yes. See you guys. I love you. Somebody said I can relate. Thank you. That's all my brother Q, if I had to speak for him, that's all he would want to hear. That's one of the greatest awards in the world, to hear someone say, I can relate.
Yeah. That's why we do it, right?
That's the reason we do it.
We explore our own truth to be a mirror to the audience so that everyone hopefully can feel a little bit less alone.
Somebody checked in from Ireland, Q. Somebody said, you know, what's up from Ireland? Omari write a book. I know. Q is inspiring me constantly, as much as he says I'm inspiring him. And that book is coming, children's books as well. Like doing the whole thing.
Dude, your book is gonna be amazing.
Oh, man.
And I will be your first 20 copies sold, because I will buy 20 copies and I will hand them out to my friends.
Man,
so,
I appreciate that.
You know, like, I can't wait. In any way I can give you a gentle push, because you know what I'll say to you, man? There's something really interesting, and I never had this experience before. But when you bring something into reality, you know, like, it's one thing to have our dreams come true.
Yes.
But I never had an object. Like, this thing is a home for my art. And now that it's outside of me, it has a life of its own. And I just want it to live as long as it can and touch as many people as it can. And to know that it came from my mind and my heart and now it's in the world is a beautiful experience. And I can't wait to experience your work like that, where it's not yours anymore, it's mine.
That's righteous, dog.
You know?
That's righteous, Q. Shout outs to screenwriters, playwrights, authors, poets. Shout out to you guys right now. This is interesting because that poem in particular, it means so much to me. I looked down at one point and somebody said I'm getting teary-eyed, and I caught it. So whomever sent that comment saying I'm getting teary-eyed, die. And I was having to, and I think it's because, you know, Q and I started the conversation with process.
Right.
If you've known somebody so long, it's one thing, guys. But it's another thing when you've known someone that long and you've gone through part of their process with them.
Right, that's true.
And, you know, people ask me about my relationship with 50 or with Joseph or with Leland, Naturi, John Berthal, who I did Shot Caller with, Benjamin Ratner, you know, Dylan McDermott from Dark Blue,
right.
Kevin Costner, who I'm still close to from The Guardian, Dwayne Johnson from The Rock, I mean, obviously from my Gridiron Gang, The Rock. So many people have asked me that, Q. So at some brevity of moment, even if those jobs, particularly film, were only relegated to 30 days to 45, Derek Luke, Sparkle, you know, my dear friend and bro and Mike Lee, who did Miracle at St. Anna with me, and also for Color Girls, the Tyler Perry piece, Janet Jackson, the one now I have a relationship with her. When people ask that question, Q, I think that was a brevity of moment. And it's really something special, man, when you can maintain, even if it's a TV show, 6.5 years versus 30 days, which is film. If you can maintain a relationship, then it sort of meant that you went through some sort of, as you said, perfectly coined by you, the personal rectifying and forgiveness of that which comes way before meeting that person.
Right.
We cut our own bullshit way before we step foot on a stage, in a room, in a restaurant, in a venue, in a classroom, on a set,
right?
You know, in an engineering firm, in a law firm, in a hospital, like in a post office, where not only are people going postal, but sometimes internally, people are going postal because they're coming with baggage.
Right.
As Erykah Badu, one of the great poets of all, said it. You know, they're coming with baggage. So I think it had me almost teary-eyed, of course, because I was such a part of that process.
Right.
It was only 4 years after you were 15 years old that I met you.
Right.
Like, and I remember us creating, you know, the Lost Angels Actors Lounge. That was sort of the sister or brother to the Poetry Lounge. And I remember you and I creating scenes, and one of the scenes geared around you meeting your father.
Yep.
And how that felt. And, you know, Q is a massive basketball fan, as am I. And we talk hoops a lot. And we sort of broke down with the two brothers from Poetics, that being Alex Nagel and they. We broke down what we felt, or what we sort of got from our takeaway from this incredible documentary the world's going crazy about, showcasing the gifted Chicago Bulls.
It's an unbelievable piece of art.
And Q and I were breaking it down, and you know, we're talking about Michael and LeBron and all these great players, and you know, Kobe, and obviously being more of a replica, you know, and not to denote disrespect to that, but he was able to, because of physicality, because of movement, because of body type, he more than any other player was able to replicate certain things. So let me just say that's what I meant. No slights to the brilliant Kobe. When Q and I were talking about Michael versus LeBron and this and that, you know, and Magic Johnson, Kareem, I said to Q, I said, you know, it's interesting for brown people, for brown men in sport, for brown women in sport. Think about, you know, Venus and Serena and their father, right? Q, their relationship with their father.
Yeah.
To be the greatest in sport, because it requires so much of moxie and so much of a, I don't know, a different kind of thing. I told Q two things. I said, it's hard for LeBron to ever be touted better than Michael, because even if Michael was trying to get the attention of his father, which he spoke to, that Larry, his big brother, had more of his father's, even if that's a motivating factor, James Jordan, Michael's father, was always around him. He was there. He was in his life. He was able to validate certain things that Q did not have validated in himself, that LeBron did not have validated in himself outside of coaches, respectively. Shout outs to all the great coaches, mentors, and teachers. And shout outs to the Blue Apple Poetry Network, whom my co-founder and myself, we just always give thanks to, gratitude to the teachers, to the coaches, to the mentors who are taking the place of fathers that are missing Q. But when I said what I said to Q, he kind of got it. What I meant was, the gift of LeBron is that he is by far the top 5 greatest player ever to play, if not top 2. And he did that coming up in an environment a lot like my brother in Q, with no father around to this day.
Yeah.
As far as I know, don't misquote me, but as far as I know, there's never been an appearance of a father or this, that, and the third.
I didn't even have an adult male that I trusted.
You know, so it's like, when we were talking about it, I said, I think about Shaquille O'Neal, who's a dear friend, and Shaq always, you know, that great line in that hook where he said, this was my real father when my biological didn't bother. And that's the father that raised him. He had that man, that military man who was an enforcer in his life and a challenger. And we all want discipline. Even those that are bullying young people or bullying us on social media. We want discipline. People ask me often, Q, they like, come on, don't mind all that. I'm like, I'm not. They're not getting at me, but I'm never going to leave this earth without checking people. I'm not, because my check is through love. I'm challenging people to grow up and be different. So when I think about sport, I told Q, I said, it's hard to be better than Michael when there was a validation different, particularly, parenthetically, I stated again, for brown men. It's so hard for us to go into sport, which is a different kind of battle. It's a different kind of warfare, and not be able to look behind your shoulder and see your father going, you got it. I believe in you. And then I doubled down on that. And again, I spoke about that. Just shows how incredibly gifted LeBron is, how so talented, and how mentally at a capacity way beyond his chronological age, even at the age of 16, he was, and it to be able to be and become what he did. And then, of course, world, I want you to know, I said to you, I said, on the flip side, you can become one of the greatest artists, if not the greatest artist ever, without having that man in life. Because what's motivating you is this anger and this fuel. And as Q just perfectly stated in that poem, it has to come with forgiveness at the end of the day. Right? It's got to be.
You know, I think, like, ultimately that poem is about two things: forgiveness and gratitude. And I think forgiveness and gratitude are intertwined with each other, because you can't have forgiveness without having gratitude. And I'll bring it full circle. You know, everything that happens to us in our lives that we consider negative no matter whether or not we'll ever be able to understand them. They happened. And so ultimately we have a choice to make. We have a choice whether or not we're going to be victims. This is after grieving, by the way, because you have to go through grieving.
Talk about that. Got to go through it. Got to go through all the emotions.
But after you go through that, are you going to victimize yourself? Are you going to blame other people? Are you going to be mad at God? You know, being mad at God is like yelling at yourself in the mirror, because no matter what you say, God will be waiting for you when you are done. You know, so it's like, are you going to do that? Or are you going to choose to find empowerment by having gratitude? And if you have gratitude, then you can say, this made me who I am. And I would not be who I am in this moment unless that had happened. And I unconditionally love myself. And in that, I can forgive that person because I'm grateful that it happened, because I am who I am.
Because of it. A lot of
right.
parts.
And that actually was the full circle thing I was going to say based on the basketball conversation is, you know, whatever motivation people use to be great, that is their fuel. And it's beautiful fuel, whether it's Jordan wanting to, you know, prove his brother, you know, that he's better than his brother, or, you know, get attention from father, or whatever LeBron's situation was without having it, which is similar to mine, at least in the not having a male figure in his life. Whatever fuel you have to use to be great, use it. And then at a certain point, if that fuel becomes unsustainable, find another fuel source.
Or if not unsustainable also, and or toxic.
Right, toxic.
Figure that out.
Exactly. But, you know, I had to do both of those things. I would not be the writer that I am had I not taken that anger and put it into my art. But I also realized at a certain point it was toxic and it was unsustainable. And to your great point about the great thing about knowing someone over different stages of your life is you knew me when I wrote that poem, but I couldn't embody it. You know, the poems are almost their manifestations or their prayers.
Well, they're prayers, and they're of prophecy, Q. And you're quite the gifted prophet. And you and I both know that there's poets that hit a stage that aren't necessarily that. But you and I both are big on the youth hitting the stage. Because foremost part of that process, you said, is standing in front of somebody, whether it be at 12 or whether it be at 22 years of age, and getting courageous enough to go, ugh. And sometimes from the business standpoint, you and I look over and go, there's commodity in that poet because they're just dope.
Right.
And then there's a poet that might be lesser in gift, but the fact that they were courageous enough, they're working on that toxic fuel or remedying that fuel, you know, making sure that it's that which is positive growth, not negative backwards growth. And so there is prophecy and prayer in that. That's true. I write a poem, and I used to write stuff, and then I go back and read it, and I go, how did this come out of me?
Right, exactly.
Poetry used to always say, I give all my praise to God before he was spit, right? Devin Smith would go, before I start this poem, all, you know, God.
Every time.
Every time,
Every single time. Yo, will you do something? Because I know we have a little bit of time left, and I want to make sure that I get to hear you and that the fans get to hear you as well.
I'll do something. I'll do a little something.
Great.
So this was, this Q is a piece that, let's be of balance. You and I were always about balance. So we were always about yin and yang, and that negative and positive. I just told Brave and Nova, we need criminality, because if we don't, the cops can't put food on the table. You know,
you can't have light without dark. You can't have good without bad. You wouldn't even have a comparison point. It's all the human experience.
That's true. There's no apex, no epicenter, no anorexic line between the two. Then why are we even here on this earth? So it's ironic, because without even knowing it, bro, it's the typical thing of rapport that you and I've had forever. And you, of course, talked about men and how important men are in each other's lives, and that being specificity of father to son, son to father relationship. But this one is about women. It's so ironic, because I just wrote about women being the muse that they are, and how we, you and I used to say, can't live with them, can't live without them. And obviously that's an adage that we didn't create, but it's so true, man. It ain't overwrought. Like, you can't live with them. So she was conceived at the be and believe, to free or not to free, the bleeding heart worn on her sleeve. She was born at the corner of second and greed. I'm digressing. Need a second to breathe. My inflection be my reflection of my connection to her needs, her beauties, her duties, the Army's creed, to be all she can be. everyone she thought she needed.
Mm.
By 6, she thought she was 6 degrees from everything she thought she could perceive. She is umbilical cord and torn trees, blowing in the wind. When the storms make frenemies with the seas, she is her own muse, head pressed to bruised knees, whispering to the aches beneath her blistering dreams. For heaven's sake, it seems by 7, she was glistering meme. Was meme of the key to her own soul, and that's me. I mean, all it sees, she is girl, she is queen, she is world. The woe to woman, the woe to man's discoveries, oh man, she is pearl. Indigo in her hands, she paints the histories of her mysteries. He is be or not to only be a lonely. Please embrace all of me with no apologies.
What?
The pony me, the short to tall in me, the caterpillar extemporized before the fall in me. Life, love, then loss, you see, right? In you, we be what we be. To be or not to be you or me, what's realer? The butterflies soar, the butterflies soar. But the butterflies soar, ache below.
Woo!
Our hearts we try to pour and mow, but sometimes not enough window to throw, not enough pot to piss, or even to go. Number 2, number 1, you make the call. I don't know. She is the healer, the revealer of the why can't I be me and me. She is also the parts that died before she could see, pulled the trigger in her own M-U-S-E. She is muse, y'all. She is she. She is fall. Autumn, spring, leaves, torn at the knees. She is praying, below, beneath. She is alone, but not low. She is even, how come? What for? She is even he now. She is me somehow. I am grown now. She's my poem now. She's 100 hues of summer blues and cold winter news. She is flight Howard Hughes. She is the dynamite of her own might. Walk a mile in her shoes if you might. Is muse. So toes frostbite from being overused. Life, love, and loss should be a tune. Leave us stuck between the groove from all what she confused. Before she find hindsight, then 2020 kind of cries. But you know, them lies. Filled with clues. Before the crocodile took a slice and started to chew, she is her father's child, like ink juice. Still waiting, still waiting, still waiting for what to do. Don't let the bed bite until round 2. Her wings like king's eyes on the prize in 12-round fights. So sometimes her vision stings like she fell in the night. Was she the brother's right? Aviating light until others might find insight in their own right. You, woman, a radiating terabyte into pheromones until you are 1 million of your own clone. The effervescence of home. You, muse, are the essence of home. The blessing of shalom, the addressing of your phones, even when they ache homes. Until that road paid its dues, you should use your own throne. To sing no more ladies sing them blues. And until you ladies choose to be your own muse, this is old and this is English.
Woo!
That's for the culture, bro.
When the fuck did you write that? That's why I said you were the most prolific.
2 hours ago.
That's insane. That's insane. It'll take me a week to get something that I love. You just fucking put it down, man. That was beautiful.
Because I'm off, Q. I'm off.
Well, everyone's off, but you're on in the right ways then, because I mean, who the fuck isn't off, right? I mean, this is a crazy human experience. That poem was about the dichotomy of it all. It was beautiful.
Thank you, my brother. I wish that more people embrace that thing, right? Off enough to go, fuck it. Let me just stop being so cool. Like I always say, that syndrome of not diving on the ground for the loose ball, to keep it with basketball as an analogy. Like,
right.
Too many people were too cool to be cool. Too cool for school. Like,
yeah, being cool is fucking boring. It's so
crazy.
Predictable, man. You know, and it's so focused on what other people think of you rather than who you actually are in the truth of that moment. You know, you have to be willing not to be liked in order to be loved, because otherwise, even if they love you, they're not actually loving you.
Say that slow for the fans in the culture, bro. Say it slow.
You have to be willing not to be liked in order to truly be loved.
And ironically, respect is key.
Exactly.
Out of all of those, respect is key. You ain't got to rock with me. Respect me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I don't have to love the mountain, but I have to respect the mountain. It's there, you know?
You know, people say, man, I love the water. And I always think to myself, but I hope you respect it.
Right. Because you can die if you don't. You know?
Oh, I love fire. I love sitting in front of a fireplace. Yeah,
right.
but I hope you respect it. Respect is king. It's queen. It's gold. It's so good, you know?
Respect is the boundary that allows you to truly love, because separation, there is nothing to love.
So true. Talib, Lupe, Black Thought, Rakim, Nas, Pop, Chris, that being 1,000. Did I say Rashid as in common? Probably I did. Most Def, you know.
Black Thought.
Obviously, there's people I'm missing out, but in terms
Guru.
of great, say it again.
Guru.
Guru for sure. Rest in peace, Guru. Jazz. In terms of the great MCs, you and I always, and not to slight, obviously, the Stevie Wonders and the George Harrisons for sure,
right.
the writer of a lot of those songs for the Beatles. Range in terms of Stevie all the way to that, but in terms of hip hop, like Method Man, gotta throw Meth in.